Hello and welcome once again to Horizons. I'm your host, Don Moore. This is a public affairs program of Ohio University Southern Campus. It's being produced by the students in the electronic media program at the Southern Campus. Today we have a special guest. She actually wears a couple hats. One is Vice President of Operations with the Ashland Alliance, and the second is she's a City Commissioner with the City of Ashland, and that's Amanda Clarke. Amanda, glad to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
We've got a lot that I'd like to try to get through today.
Okay.
We want to kind of give an end of the year report for what's going on with the Alliance, and then a little bit about what the Alliance does, because, you know, with the Brady Industry thing that's coming to town and the Alliance, the industry, I mean, there's a lot of news and you guys are in it a lot. So
we are.
We'd like to share a little bit about that. And then also, I'd like to, touch briefly about the City Commission, what's going on with the City of Ashland. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how you got to where you are today.
Oh gosh, I was born and raised in Ashland. I've been there my entire life. I graduated from Boyd County High School and then went so far as to go to Marshall for college. So was there stayed at Marshall. I did my bachelor's and my master's at Marshall. I was an elementary school teacher, taught in Boyd County and Ashland, and then I was part of the administrative staff for the Boyd County Public Library. About 3 years ago, I got an offer to come to the Alliance and took it, and I guess the rest is history in terms of my professional life. I've personally been married to my husband for almost 25 years. We have two boys, 21 and 14. So that's what we do all the time.
Okay. Well, we've had a long conversation before the show, and we've done a lot of events before through the Alliance and everything, but you've got two strikes against you. I'm an old Tomcat, and you're from Boyd County.
Well, my
and then
boys
you went to
are
Marshall
at Ashland,
instead of
though,
Ohio
so,
University.
Yeah, this is true.
Let's talk about the Alliance a little bit. Over the years, Ashland has struggled because of the economy and everything. But what all's going on that you see in our community?
A year and a half ago, we had the announcement of Brady Industries, and probably at this point, everybody is like, oh, Brady, a little bit tired of hearing about Brady. But what's interesting about the Brady project and what it brings is Brady, when it's all said and done, is only a very small portion of this puzzle. The Alliance, you mentioned saying a little bit about what the Alliance does. A lot of people don't understand that we are the regional economic development agency as well as a chamber of commerce for Boyd and Greenup County, which means it's our job to recruit business, but it's also our job to make sure that the business that's here stays here, that they prosper, that they anything that comes in their way we assist with, whether that's government related or whatever that means for that business. We sort of wear a lot of hats. I say all the time, I should have gone to law school, I should have a real estate license, I should do all those things because those are the things that we run up against a lot. But back to why Brady is important, as the Chamber of Commerce, to make sure that the businesses that are here stay here and do well here, we need to make a bigger piece of the pie for everybody. If we make the pie bigger, then everybody prospers. And Brady, like I said, is a big part of that. But coming behind Brady are all the people that are going to use aluminum, that are going to turn the aluminum into something else, who are going to supply what Brady needs for their plant as well. And so while Brady may be 550 jobs or 600 jobs when it's all said and done, the multiplier of that, when AK idled in Greenup County, the multiplier was for every job that was idled or lost at AK, there were 7 to 9 affected. Go the other way with that. If you're bringing 550 or 600 jobs to an area and there are 7 to 9 that will come out of those 600 jobs, then that's a boom for the whole region.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. Our job right now is to recruit that cluster. Who is going to need Brady's aluminum? Who is going to help supply Brady's plant? What does that cluster look like? And in the last 8 months, we've literally sat down with 21 companies who are trying their best to be as close to Brady as they can get. And 21 site visits, 21 meetings in 8 months. And I will tell you that my first year at the Ashland Alliance, we may have had 3 site visits. My second year at the Ashland Alliance, we had about 15, and we've had 21 in the last 6 months. So
Wow.
Just to put that into perspective, for the first time probably in our history, we have people calling us saying, we are moving our business to Boyd County, to Greenup County, to Ashland. We need you to find us a spot. And that's a very different place than where we were 3 years ago.
Now, and we're going to talk about all the other successes and everything, but briefly, what all goes into a site visit whenever somebody comes in? Because you were telling me about, you just had one
yesterday. We got a call that a company was in
town. But I
town.
think it'd be interesting because the community doesn't really know what the Alliance does sometimes and what the Chamber is all involved in. But share with us what all is expected whenever a site visit or a company calls like that.
Well, what we do is most of the time we actually don't even know who the company is, especially if the project comes from the state or something. Where they may say this is a metals manufacturer, and that's all we may know about the company until they get there. And so our job before the visit is to, I know it sounds almost silly, is to sort of speculate what it is they could possibly need, what we think they want to know in terms of the sites that we have available, the infrastructure at those sites, the utility costs, all of those sorts of things. And when we have that initial site visit, what Tim and I like to do is sort of fill the room with the people that can make those decisions.
When you say Tim, we're talking Tim
Tim
Gibbs,
Gibbs, president of the Ashland Alliance. I apologize.
That's okay.
We fill the room with the people that can answer those questions. If we think that they are going to be a significant user of water, we bring that utility provider in, or gas or electric. Usually the electric, Kentucky Power is there in our meetings, in our site visits as well. But in that visit, basically what we do is we put together, we sell that site, we sell our region, we sell the incredible workforce that we have and the ability to train that workforce, because that's a pretty good selling point that our region has. And we put together a packet for them to take with them. We do a digital presentation as well, whatever it warrants, whatever that specific meeting warrants. It could look differently. We've had companies in that we have taken to Ohio University, taken to Marshall to show them different places. Because for us, it's not just what Kentucky has to offer. That's the beauty of being in the tri-state region. We sit in a micro-metropolitan area of 360,000 people within an hour, if you think about it. And we use that to sell a lot too. So before a site visit, like I said, we put together this packet, we assemble a team, and then we put on a show. I mean, that's really the best way to
sell our region.
We
and
do.
You all do an extremely good job.
We do. Well, for us, we have a lot of attributes that are easy to sell. You know, especially in this, we're working this metals cluster and that sort of thing. If you can say to a metals manufacturer that you have 8 times the number of metal workers than anywhere else in the United States, that's a pretty good selling point. If you also say to that metals manufacturer or any manufacturer, we have a community and technical college system that will design a training program for your employees, that's also a really good selling point. And so we've got all these things that make it kind of easy for us.
And you know,
if you can say
when
that.
you live here, you don't really realize, and I have to, bring this one up because I had Glenn on when he first came with the newspaper in Ashland, and he said, people in Ashland don't realize the beauty of the community. I mean, with Wayne National Forest and Greenbow Lake State Park and the hiking trails, and
I get to say that a lot to a lot of people in both aspects of both hats that I wear. I get to tell everybody how great we are every day. And so I don't have a lot of time for, or a lot of, empathy is not the right word, but I don't have a lot of time for the negative, well, we don't have this or we don't have that. But this is what we do have. Right. And this is why we're great. And I get to see us through the eyes of the people who come in to visit us. And that's been a really cool thing to watch the last couple of years, is to hear what people, at our visit yesterday, one of the women that were in the meeting, she said, I didn't realize this was such a great place. I didn't know, she said, I had in my head that it was a little tiny town that was just, She said, and it's really, this is a great place. And I get to hear that over and over and over again. And so I think I have the best job in the world.
I do too. And I was sharing that with you earlier. There's a lot of change going on in the Ashland area, and it's things that you know, I've been in Ashland. Well, I was born at King's Daughters in '59, so 60 years coming up. And a lot of the changes that are happening are things that I've always dreamed of, and you're right in the middle of it. You're making that happen, and that's pretty cool. And I know it's a team. It's not just you.
It is.
But it's
and
got
I
to be
struggle with that
rewarding.
a little bit. It is. You know, my youngest son he's in his own head a lot, and he's a thinker. And one morning on the way to school, he said, Mom, he said, I think that, he said, you know, when Paul Blazer was here, talking about Ashland,
Yeah.
Paul Blazer from Ashland Oil, he said, I think that's kind of what we're doing right now, and you know those people.
Yeah, exactly.
I said, we do. I work with them every day, and we are. We're sort of changing our part of the world, and that's a great place to be.
Now, you mentioned about SpinOffs of Loxit.
Yes.
Why don't you share a little bit about the importance of them and who they are?
You know, I mentioned that what comes behind Brady makes Brady seem small. And we believe that, and Brady believes that as well. Brady obviously is a game changer for our region, but Brady has purchased a company called Veloxant, who is a company that is out of MIT. It's the intellectual property of MIT. And basically, they have the ability to 3D print metal that is lighter and stronger, but still has the attributes of that metal. And when you talk about game changer and world changer, Veloxant has the ability to do that. And it's really exciting when you sort of just drill down into it and realize that if an airplane has all the rivets in an airplane, if you can make those rivets a quarter lighter and twice as strong, then suddenly every airplane in the whole world needs new rivets. And every car in the whole world needs this new material that's going to make it lighter and stronger. And it really revolutionizes the entire metals industry. And it's right here in our region. They're manufacturing at the building where we had our annual meeting.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us, we have Amanda Clarke. She's with the Ashland Alliance, and we're talking about some of the changes that are going on in the area. One of the best ways, if people want to go in and take a look, is if they go to the Alliance website, they can see that annual meeting. And the governor spoke, but several people that have really bought into our region and are bringing new companies to here. And it's more than just Brady.
It is.
And they spoke.
It is. And we wanted to make sure that we highlighted that at this year's annual meeting. Last year was right after the Brady announcement that we had our annual meeting, and so it was sort of all things Brady. And this year Brady is still a very large part of that. But we also had, you know, Rob Slagle, who's expanded twice in the last 2 years, who just purchased a new building. Mixed Materials Solutions is building a facility right outside the river, or in the Riverport. You've got Steel Ventures, who did an expansion in Wortland and also just purchased Kentucky Electric Steel and will be reopening that facility. So there's a lot of movement in the region outside of, you know, we call it the big shiny thing. But there are all sorts of other things that are going on, and at our annual meeting we wanted to make sure that we highlighted those, and that everybody got to see that this is a regional movement, and things are happening all over.
We're going to take a break.
Okay.
And step away for about a minute, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about a little bit more about what's going on with the Alliance and some of the other activities that the Alliance is into, as well as talk to you about the other hat you wear with the City Commission.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it,
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got, or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Welcome back to Horizons. I'm your host, Don Moore. Again, this is a public affairs program of Ohio University Southern Campus. We have special guests with us today, and it's Amanda Clarke. We've been talking a little bit about the Ashland Alliance and some of the exciting things that are taking place in Ashland. Earlier, you explained a little bit about what the Alliance does whenever we get into site visits, but there's a whole lot more behind the Alliance and the Chamber.
Yes.
Why don't you share some of the other activities they're involved in? One of them we just finished.
We did. You know, the Alliance is not just economic development, it is a Chamber of Commerce as well. And so we have a lot of sort of offshoots of that Chamber of Commerce, one of which is the Winter Wonderland of Lights. It's very hard to say. It's a tongue twister. Say it real fast. And there are 800,000 lights in Central Park, and that's a function of the Ashland Alliance. We put that committee together and make sure that that runs the way that it's supposed to. And the Santa train runs, and Santa is at the Roundhouse every year, and everybody gets to see Santa. Breakfast with Santa is this Saturday.
But that attracts so many people from all over.
Interesting fact, the Ashland Christmas Parade is actually the largest Christmas parade in the state. There are 4,000 people that participate in the parade. In the parade itself is about 4,000 people, which is insane to think about. And it's only the second largest parade in all of Kentucky, not Christmas, just parade in general, second only to the Derby
Parade, yeah. We were talking about that the other day when we heard Tim mention it on air, and I thought, what other parade? And that's the Derby Parade.
Derby, yeah.
So,
the Pegasus Festival or whatever it is.
So that's quite an accomplishment there. But there's a lot of work that goes into that each year.
There is. Paula in our office has been in our office for 38 years, and she handles Winter Wonderland of Lights and deals with the committee that handles that. And then Missy in our office also works with Winter Wonderland of Lights and the Youth Leadership Program. We have a youth leadership program that works with high school juniors. And then, of course, we also have our Community Leadership Development class that's in its 37th year. That goes through, and basically they have 6 weeks that they see all of the inner workings of the governments, of the nonprofits, and everything that goes into kind of making the region, which is interesting.
So is that for young business professionals, or do they get nominated?
It's for any of our members who decide that they want to do it. We've had about 1,200 people go through the program in the 37 years. It's a class of we try to keep it right at 40 each year.
Learn about all the educational institutions and things of that
Yeah, there's
nature.
an education day, a law and order day where they go to the jail and the courthouses and those sorts of things. They do a child advocacy day, education. There's themed days, and the classes go to different places each of those days.
I didn't have the chance to participate in that one, but I've done the leadership.
It's actually how I got
tri-state,
involved at the Ashland Alliance. I did the Community Leadership Development class, and from there ended up becoming an ambassador for the Alliance and working with the young professionals and that sort of thing. So
I know, and when I did the tri-state leadership, it was probably one of the best programs I'd ever gone
I've
through
heard that.
because you just get to learn so much. You know, it's a shame, but this river acts as a great divide sometimes.
it does, and we try. Our message is always it should unite us. I mean, that's what brings us all together, and we try to see it as a uniter more than a divider all the time.
All right, so do that, and then the parade, and then also a big fundraiser each year is the dinner.
Yes, our annual meeting.
Which just took
You know,
place.
3 years ago, we had 260 people at our annual meeting, and this past October,
It just keeps
956, I think, was the official number.
And share with the folks the size building that you had to get together.
Well, we
together.
essentially turned a warehouse into a place for 1,000 people to have dinner, which was a logistical nightmare. And it was sort of interesting because we did it the way that we've always done it. And you know, we were responsible for setting the tables and putting out all the tables and chairs and all that sort of thing, which is easy to do with a staff of 4 when you have 200 people who come to your dinner. It's not so easy to do with a staff of 4 and you have 1,000 people coming to dinner. And what we found out is it took us about 3 days to set up and about as much time to tear down, and we'll make some changes for next year just so that our staff don't walk out the door on us after it's over.
It's quite an event, though, and you all do a tremendous job.
You know, my favorite part of that event really is that everybody, I feel like the people who are in that room believe in our mission, and that's why they're there. And to have sort of all of that energy and all of those people who we know believe in that mission, who are, in my opinion, are there as a statement to say we believe in your mission, that's a sight to behold. This is the first year that I've gotten to speak at the meeting, and I was at the very end, and we were running way long on time, so I've made it really quick. But to stand up there in front of all of those people and just get to say thank you for supporting us and believing in us, for letting us do what we're doing. I'm really appreciative of that, and I can't really say much more than that about it.
And again, if you want to check out the meeting, it is being broadcast on OUS TV channel here at Ohio University as well. It's on the website.
We have a link on our website, ashlandalliance.com, right up in the top right-hand corner. It says watch the annual meeting.
And then our town, or My Town TV?
My Town, that's where our link comes from, is from My Town.
Okay. All right, let's change hats a little bit, okay? You are a city commissioner
I am.
for Ashland. What are your thoughts? We just had an election, and your thoughts about the commission as it's made up right now?
You know, I serve on a commission with a group of really great people. They are people who wholeheartedly want to see Ashland succeed and want to see the best version of Ashland that Ashland can be. In my dual role, I have to be careful sometimes going, oh, Ashland, because I am a regional thinker regardless, but as a city commissioner, you know, obviously I'm Ashland all the way. And I serve with these people who are the same. You know, sometimes we disagree about how we need to get there, but I think the mission is for all of us the same. I was pleased with the election results because I think that this commission has done some really great things, and I wasn't sure, sort of shaking that up, how it would turn out. So I was pleased.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you see in the city right now?
Oh, water. That's a really easy question.
We see that on the news a lot.
Water, Ashland water.
But it's not really in the pipes where it should be or in the homes where it should be.
It's places it shouldn't be.
Why don't you explain a little bit about that? Because you gave me some details before the show talking about the age of some of the lines and everything that you're dealing with.
People don't really realize we have 303 miles of water lines in the ground in the city of Ashland, just city. 303 miles of water lines. Some of those water lines are 100 years old, some of those water lines are 20 years old. And the problem is, and we're not, this isn't a problem that's specific to Ashland. This is every city our age, all up and down the river, are experiencing the same issues. The lifespans of those pipes, the 100-year pipes may have 110, 120-year lifespan. The 80-year-old pipes have 80. As the pipes got newer, their lifespans got smaller. They're not as good a quality. And we're not seeing the 100-year-old mains fail. We're seeing our failure rate. We had a consultant in a couple of weeks ago who lined out exactly what's wrong with our system and what we're going to have to do to fix it. Our failure rate is in the 2 to 4 inch pipes that are coming from the mains that go to your house, which is a significant bulk of and they are unlined galvanized pipes, and so they corrode from the inside and they corrode from the outside, which doesn't work well anywhere. If you've ever had to replace water lines in your house, you know that galvanized piping was just awful. Right. And that's but when Ashland was growing the most in the late 50s and early 60s, that's what was going in the grounds, that's what was coming to your house, to the housing developments, that's what's running all over the place. And so those are the lines that we're finding that are just cracking up all over the place at the highest rate. And so this commission is absolutely dedicated to a precise plan, X number of miles of pipe every year for this much money every year on a 100-year cycle, so that we really don't ever want to be in this situation again. The problem is, for the last 50 years, nobody's done anything. The pipes are in the ground and they work. And so there hasn't been anything set aside, there hasn't been any plan to systematically replace those lines. And this commission, like I said, we are dedicated to a 100-year plan of this much pipe every year, this much money, and just there's no other way to do it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's the predicament we found ourselves in.
What are some of the successes that you feel that you've seen in the last few years?
You know, the hotel downtown is going to be huge for downtown, for the entire region, really. Our hotels stay at about a 95-96% occupancy rate, and we don't have a hotel in downtown Ashland. So anything that used to happen in downtown Ashland in terms of a conference, business meetings, those sorts of things, those people are staying outside of the city. And so when this 100-room hotel opens up, that's
Do
a
they
big deal.
have a ballpark idea? I know
You know,
there's-
originally they had said September,
Right.
October. When they got into the building, they found a whole lot of stuff that needed to be fixed that they hadn't anticipated. And so we're probably looking February is what we're hearing at this point. I was
Okay.
in it. They took the commission in a couple weeks ago, and we did a tour, and they're moving right along. The rooms look beautiful. They're working on some of the public spaces, and so it's going to be really nice. And I think that's big for downtown. You know, obviously Brady put their headquarters in downtown Ashland. Also, that's a big win. And you know, for the first time in 35 years, I guess, the Cameo Arcade is full. The storefronts downtown are filling up.
When we were down there for the parade, I was walking through and I was explaining to my students, you know, back in the 70s, this was my first job, was a Goots Mint Shop, but this place was full, you
Yeah.
know.
It's
And,
full now. We had Brunch and Browse Ashland. I'm on the board for Ashland in Motion, and we did Brunch and Browse, which is Small Business Saturday. And I always love to do that because you end up with a couple hundred people in the Cameo Arcade, and you get to see all the people walking downtown. And I guess what it must have been like before me.
We have about 30 seconds
Okay.
left. Any last thoughts or anything I haven't asked you about that you
No,
want
I
to
don't
touch on?
think so. You know, I appreciate you bringing me here and asking a little bit about what the Alliance does, because I think it's a mystery to a lot of people in terms of what we do and what's happening. I've said it 1,000 times and I'll say it again. I don't think there's any better time to be here than right now. I think there are exciting days on the horizon, and I'm thrilled to be part of it.
Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
That'll do it for this edition of Horizons, and we'll be back again next week.
I try to keep up with what these young people is doing and knowing.
I was at work and I just got a text from a number that I didn't know.
I sent him a text. He texts me back and say, "Who dis?" And I just thought that was the funniest thing.
The next few weeks, she just made fun of me, like would answer the door and say, "Who dis?"
Who dis?
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org.
America, let's do lunch. Oh, sweetie. Okay, you know what? Let's take off his sweatshirt. Get rid of pictures of him. You don't have to look at him. Goodbye, Dave.
Mom, you don't understand. He's tagged in like 400 of my posts.
I can cut out tags.
No, that's not how it works.
What is a tag?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care would love to share their first with you.